The exile. The assembly chamber fell silent as the verdict was delivered. 12 representatives of the most advanced civilizations in the known galaxy stood in a perfect circle, their diverse anatomies unified in their judgment. At the center stood Commander Elena Reyes, her spine straight and jaw clenched as she absorbed the words that would change humanity's future. After thorough deliberation, intoned the Vixel representative, its crystalline body refracting light in pulsating patterns, the Galactic Assembly has determined that humanity is not suitable for membership. Your species exhibits dangerous levels of unpredictability, resource consumption, and technological advancement without corresponding ethical constraints. Elena maintained her composure, though her fingernails dug crescents into her palms. She'd been sent as Earth's representative, precisely because of her diplomatic skills, but nothing had prepared her for this. Furthermore, continued the representative, to protect the stability of established galactic civilization, humanity is hereby contained to your solar system. Monitoring stations will be established at the heliopause. Any attempt to breach this quarantine will result in immediate suppression. The chamber's holographic displays showed the solar system with a red boundary marking humanity's new prison, 8 billion souls confined to a cosmic speck. This is unacceptable, Elena said, her voice steady despite the rage building behind her eyes. Humanity has the same rights to exploration and growth as any species. The Mycorian delegate, a fungoid entity 3 meters tall, released spores that translated into speech. Rights are granted by the Assembly based on trustworthiness and predictability. Your species fails both criteria. You fear us, Elena said. You fear what we might become. That concludes this session, the Vixel announced. The quarantine will be established within one standard cycle. Back on Earth, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Screens around the chamber displayed the monitoring stations already being constructed at the edge of the solar system. Massive structures with sensors capable of detecting any conventional spacecraft. They've caged us, President Alvarez said, striking the table with his fist. After everything we've done to prove ourselves worthy of joining their community. Elena stood before them, still in her formal diplomatic uniform. The Assembly's decision is final, but their reasoning reveals something important. They fear our potential. Fat lot of good potential does us when we're trapped in our own system, muttered the Chinese representative. Elena activated a holographic display, showing an anomalous structure discovered in the Kuiper Belt 2 years earlier, not necessarily trapped. Before receiving the Assembly's invitation, we discovered this. The Security Council members leaned forward. Most had never been briefed on this discovery. We believed it to be a derelict spacecraft, predating even the Assembly's oldest members. Our research team has been studying it quietly, and they've made a breakthrough. Dr. Marcus Way stepped forward, his eyes bright with excitement despite the circumstances. The vessel uses a form of propulsion unlike anything in the Assembly database. It doesn't use their established hyperspace lanes or conventional warp mechanics. Instead, it creates what we call phantom corridors, temporary tunnels through subspace that leave virtually no trace. Are you suggesting we defy the Assembly's quarantine? The Russian representative asked. I'm suggesting, Elena said carefully, that we develop alternatives. The Assembly has given us no choice but to focus inward. Let's use that to our advantage. Over the next 3 years, humanity united with a singular purpose. Publicly, they accepted the Assembly's decision, focusing on internal development and occasionally hosting inspection teams to verify compliance. The inspectors saw exactly what they expected: a chastened species focusing on solving its internal problems. Deep beneath the surface of Mars and in the shadows of Europa, however, the real work continued. Project Phantom, under Elena's leadership, reversed engineered the ancient dry system. The breakthroughs came in quantum leaps, each one bringing humanity closer to freedom. The test probe returned, Dr. Way announced on a secure channel from the Europa facility. 2 light years out and back, and the Assembly monitors detected nothing. Elena smiled for the first time in months. How soon until we can send something bigger? 6 months, maybe less. But Commander, there's something else. Wei's voice dropped. The probe picked up signals from a system 10 light-years out. Artificial signals, but not matching any known assembly species. Hope kindled in Alina's chest. Not just escape, but potential allies. The first manned mission launched from the dark side of Europa exactly 7 months later. The ship, hardly larger than an old submarine, carried a crew of 15 scientists, engineers, and 2 military personnel. Their mission: establish contact with the source of the signals. Alina addressed them before departure. You carry humanity's future with you. Find what's out there. Learn if they can help us. Show them what humans are truly capable of when backed into a corner. The Phantom drive engaged, creating a temporary subspace corridor. The ship slipped through, leaving no trace for the assembly monitors to detect. For all they knew, humanity remained obediently confined. 2 months later, the ship returned with news that exceeded their wildest hopes. The signals came from a species called the Nexani, who had also been deemed unsuitable by the assembly centuries earlier. Unlike humans, they'd never developed FTL travel on their own, instead building a thriving civilization across their single star system. They were astonished to see us, reported Captain Rodriguez. According to their histories, the assembly discovered them, judged them, and abandoned them to their single world. They'd been transmitting signals for centuries, hoping someone would answer. And they're willing to help us? Alina asked. More than willing. They're eager. They have technologies we haven't even imagined, adapted perfectly to their unique environment. In exchange for our Phantom drive technology, they're offering manufacturing techniques that could revolutionize our capabilities. The Security Council unanimously approved the alliance. Within a year, 3 more Phantom ships were completed. The first carried engineers and scientists to the Nexani homeworld. The second and third ventured farther, mapping systems beyond assembly space. 5 years after the quarantine began, humanity had established its first extrasolar colony in a resource-rich system 20 light-years from Earth. The colony, named Novaterra, was built entirely underground to avoid detection by occasional assembly patrols. More colonies followed: Libertas, New Dawn, Defiance, each one established in carefully selected systems far from assembly trade routes. 10 years into exile, the Shadow Coalition was born, a formal alliance between humans, Nexani, and 3 other species discovered in similar circumstances. Each had been judged and contained by the assembly for different reasons, but all shared a common resentment and determination to forge their own path. The most significant discovery came in the 12th year. A Phantom expedition found ruins of an ancient civilization on a planet designated Horizon. The technology there responded uniquely to human neural patterns, suggesting a connection between humans and these ancient builders that no other known species possessed. It's as if they designed these systems specifically for human minds, Dr. Amara Singh reported after 3 months studying the ruins. We can interface with their technology almost instinctively, while other species can't make any connection at all. Alina, now Admiral of the Shadow Coalition fleet, stood in the ancient control chamber, watching as human operators linked with systems dormant for millions of years. Through holographic displays, she could see the growing network of Phantom corridors connecting their hidden worlds. The assembly thinks they contained us, she said quietly. Instead, they forced us to become something they never imagined. She placed her hand on a neural interface panel, feeling the ancient technology respond to her touch. A map of the galaxy appeared, far more detailed than anything the assembly possessed, revealing thousands of worlds they had never explored. Let them keep watching our solar system, she said to her officers. We'll build something better than they ever could. The Shadow Dominion. 20 years after the assembly's verdict, Fleet Admiral Alina Reyes stood on the observation deck of the SCS Defiance, watching as construction drones completed work on the newest Phantom Gate. Below, the colony of Ascension thrived, the 37th world to join humanity's hidden empire. Admiral, "The Nexeni delegation has arrived," her aide announced. "Send them in," Elena said, straightening her uniform. At 62, her hair had gone completely silver, but her posture remained ramrod straight, her eyes sharp as ever. Ambassador Telex entered, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the ship's lights. The Nexeni had evolved in high-gravity conditions, resulting in their low, broad bodies and multiple limbs. What they lacked in height, they made up for in mechanical genius. 20 years of partnership. Telex clicked in his native language, automatically translated by the neural implant behind Elena's ear. Who would have thought our exile would lead to this? Not the assembly, certainly. Elena replied with a thin smile. How are the new shield generators performing? Beyond expectations, with the integration of the Horizon artifacts, we've achieved energy efficiency no assembly world can match. The Shadow Coalition had grown from a desperate alliance into a formidable power. 23 species now belonged to their network, each bringing unique capabilities. What had begun as a means of survival had evolved into something more, a genuine alternative to the Assembly's rigid hierarchy. The Valkyrie have pledged 5 more battle cruisers to the defense fleet, Elena noted, bringing up a holographic display. That brings our combined forces to over 300 capital ships. And still the Assembly suspects nothing, Telex asked. They'd grown complacent. Their inspection teams visit Earth yearly, see exactly what we want them to see, and leave satisfied that we remain obediently contained. What the Assembly didn't know was that Earth's population had actually decreased over the past decade as millions emigrated to colony worlds through phantom corridors. The solar system had become just one node in humanity's expanding network. The conference room doors slid open as the rest of the Shadow Council arrived. Representatives from the member species took their places around the circular table. Unlike the Assembly, which placed its founding members in positions of permanent privilege, the Shadow Coalition operated on principles of equality and merit. We face a decision, Elena began once they were seated. Our intelligence network has confirmed that the Galactic Assembly is planning to expand into the Cygnus Arm. They're unaware that we've already established 7 colonies in that region. Can we relocate? Asked the Valkyrie commander, a species evolved from avian ancestors. That would mean abandoning resource-rich worlds and years of development, countered the Solari representative, their luminescent skin pulsing with concern. Dr. Marcus Wade, now Director of Horizon Technologies, activated a holographic display showing a network of ancient structures across the galaxy. There's another option. We've successfully activated 3 more Horizon Nexus points. Each one strengthens our Phantom Corridor network and gives us access to technologies the Assembly has never imagined. The question, Elena said, is whether we remain hidden or reveal ourselves. The debate lasted hours. Some argued for continued secrecy, building their strength until they could overwhelm the Assembly completely. Others pushed for a diplomatic approach, revealing their existence from a position of strength and demanding recognition. In the end, the decision was made. The Shadow Coalition would continue its expansion, but prepare for eventual disclosure. The key would be the Horizon technology, which responded almost exclusively to human neural patterns. 3 months later, disaster struck. An Assembly science vessel detected energy signatures from the Phantom Gate at Proxima Colony. Within days, an Assembly battle group arrived in the system. Coalition forces are responding, reported Admiral Jackson on the bridge of the Defiance. But the Assembly has brought 12 capital ships. Elena activated the quantum communicator, linking simultaneously to all Coalition worlds. This is Admiral Reyes. Initiate Protocol Sunburst. I repeat, Protocol Sunburst is now active. Throughout Coalition space, Phantom Gates activated, creating temporary corridors for the rapid deployment of their combined fleet. Ships from a dozen species converged on Proxima. The Assembly demands our immediate surrender, Jackson said, reading the incoming transmission. They're invoking the quarantine protocol established 20 years ago. Open a channel, Elena ordered. When the connection was established, she found herself facing a Vixel commander, crystalline body pulsating with aggressive light patterns. "Human vessel," the Vixel began. "You have violated the terms of your containment. Surrender immediately or—" "This is Fleet Admiral Elena Reyes of the Shadow Coalition," she interrupted. "Your battle group is outnumbered and outgunned. I suggest you reconsider your position." As she spoke, phantom gates opened throughout the system. Coalition ships emerged by the dozens, then hundreds, taking up defensive positions around Proxima Colony. The Vixel commander's light patterns fluctuated in what Elena recognized as shock. Impossible. Human expansion was contained. The confrontation at Proxima became known as First Contact Day across Coalition worlds. The assembly battle group withdrew, but both sides knew this was merely the beginning. 3 months later, Elena stood before the full Galactic Assembly as the official representative of the Shadow Coalition. The chamber was the same one where she had received humanity's sentence of containment 2 decades earlier. "You defied our directive," the Mycorian delegate said, spores forming angry patterns. "You were judged unsuitable for membership in galactic society. And in doing so, you forced us to create an alternative," Elena replied. The Shadow Coalition now encompasses 23 species and 42 star systems. "We have technologies you've never seen and capabilities you can't match." She activated a holographic display showing the network of Coalition worlds and the ancient Horizon technology they had awakened. "We didn't come here to ask for your acceptance. We came to offer you a choice." The Assembly representatives shifted uncomfortably. "Join us as equals in a new galactic community where all species have the same opportunities, or continue your hierarchical system and watch as more of your members defect to our coalition." "You threaten us?" demanded the Vixel representative. "I'm offering you reality," Elena countered. "Already, 5 assembly worlds have petitioned to join our coalition. They've seen what genuine cooperation can accomplish." The human delegation included representatives from each coalition species, a vivid demonstration of their unity and diversity. Among them stood Dr. Wei, now interfaced with a portable Horizon artifact that hummed with energy. "The ancient race you call the Precursors, we call them the Horizon Builders, left their technology throughout the galaxy," Elena continued. "For reasons we don't fully understand, that technology responds primarily to human neural patterns. We've awakened capabilities your scientists claimed were impossible." She leaned forward, hands planted on the speaking podium. 20 years ago, you judged humanity too unpredictable and dangerous for your carefully controlled galactic community. You weren't wrong. We are unpredictable. We do advance quickly. But your mistake was thinking those qualities were flaws rather than strengths. The assembly chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives called for immediate military action. Others advocated for negotiation. Through it all, Elena stood calmly at the center, the same position she had occupied when receiving humanity's sentence of containment. "We'll give you 1 standard cycle to consider our offer," she said when the noise subsided. "Coalition membership with equal standing or competition for the future of this galaxy." As the human delegation prepared to depart, the Mycorian representative approached Elena privately. "You've achieved something remarkable," it admitted, spores forming complex patterns of reluctant respect. "But do you truly believe you can change a system that has maintained stability for millennia?" Elena smiled. 20 years ago, you told us we weren't trustworthy or predictable enough for your assembly. You were right about the predictable part." The coalition delegation departed through a phantom corridor that opened directly in the assembly chamber, a final demonstration of their technological superiority. Back on the Defiance, Elena watched the stars through the observation window. Somewhere among them, the Horizon Builders had seeded the potential for something greater than either the Assembly's rigid hierarchy or humanity's former isolation. "What do you think they'll choose?" asked Telex, joining her at the window. "Some will join us. Some will resist. Change never comes easily," Elena replied. "But we've already won the most important victory." "And what's that?" She turned to face the bridge, where humans worked alongside a dozen different species, their differences complementing rather than dividing them. We've proven that being judged unworthy by others doesn't determine your fate. What matters is what you build from the ashes of rejection. As if responding to her words, the Horizon artifact at the center of the bridge pulsed with blue energy, illuminating the faces of the Coalition crew, the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history.